Good evening, citizens of Chicago. This is Jerry Vasilatos, broadcasting to you from I guess this is a man cave. It could be defined as a man cave on the upper north side of Chicago, here to share another evening of news and live chat with all of my viewers. First off, I want to thank everybody who helped us get to 1,000 subscribers. I guess that gives us more legitimacy with YouTube and their algorithm. But it's a nice milestone. I'm very proud to know that I've been able to attract more viewers, along with the endless reminders to people over at Hardlands Media from my good friends Edward Heller and Kit Cabello and Daniel Lupker. And Oriel thanks you all also. He's rubbing against the microphone. That shows how happy he is. Actually, it looks like we had somebody pop into the show. I don't know if he wants to say a few words here from the get-go, but my goodness, it's friend of the show, Pegleg Sullivan. Pegleg, are you there?
Oh, hey. Oh, how did I get in here? Where am I?
It's a good question. I don't know how you got in here either.
I was walking down the street and some guy grabbed me and put me into a microphone studio over on Justine Avenue. I don't know why, but he said, get in there and start talking because we got 1,000 subscribers.
It's a milestone. Uh-oh. Are you milking? Are you planning on tilting another lantern?
I don't tilt lanterns. There were lanterns in my past that were tilted in the vicinity of me, but I did not tilt them.
You had nothing to do with that, as we understand it.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you. I know the newspapers reported it was Mrs. O'Leary and her cow.
No, I will not blame Mrs. O'Leary. I will tell you this, she did not do it, but it also was not me.
So are we going back to the meteor shower theory?
I don't know anything about no meteor showers. I try to shower without meat.
Oh, but I know what you use, though. I would imagine that you probably shower with lava soap. Yes?
I do not use lava soap because it is not very nice to my peg leg.
I would have imagined that someone that may have lineage to a certain contributor to the show that's created and represents the Volcano Party would be showering with lava soap. But I guess I stand corrected.
Yes, in fact, I back in before the fire, BTF, I did not actually use soap because soap was a luxury. Now you can get soap on every corner now with boxes of Cracker Jacks and popcorn.
Well, I'll have to take your word for it on that.
At any rate, I have overstayed my welcome because the city is no longer burning, and I would like you to get on with the rest of your program.
First of all, I thank you for joining us to help us commemorate this milestone, this achievement of 1,000 subscribers. And if there's anybody else from the Hardlands team that maybe you can get a message to that might want to join in later, please let them know they are welcome to pop in at any time.
Congratulations, and keep up the good work. Hashtag chocolate cows exist. And have a wonderful evening, everyone who is watching this lovely channel.
Pegleg Sullivan, we appreciate that. Oreo and I, thanks for joining us. All right, everybody, that was good friend of the show, Pegleg Sullivan, who may or may not have been responsible for the Great Chicago Fire. So we have a lot of stuff to cover tonight. I want to start with some breaking news that came to my attention while I was preparing the rest of the show. This is a very unfortunate situation. Let me add it to the stream. This broke earlier today. Student and security guard seriously wounded in a shooting outside Wendell Phillips Academy in Bronzeville. Now, this was reported by Jamie Nesbitt Golden at about 4:22 p.m. today, and the only information we have right now is what's reported in the article. Of course, there's an investigation pending, but let me read what was reported. Jesus Christ, here we go. A 14-year-old student and a security guard were shot and seriously wounded Tuesday outside Wendell Phillips Academy High School, authorities said. According to preliminary information from Chicago police, someone fired shots around 3:21 p.m. in the 3800 block of South Giles Avenue on the east side of Phillips campus, hitting the students and the 45-year-old security guard, hitting the student, singular, thankfully, as horrible as that is. Phillips's last period ends at 3:15 p.m. Paramedics took the teen to Corner Children's Hospital and the security guard to University of Chicago Medical Center with gunshot wounds. Chicago Fire Department spokesperson Larry Langford said both were listed in serious condition. Langford said no further information on their injuries was immediately available. Alderman Pat Dahl of the 3rd Ward, whose ward includes the school, hurried to the area after hearing of the shooting. This is a tragic event that has happened in our community, Dahl told reporters. No one's been arrested and detectives are investigating. Of course, there's no motive revealed yet in this. It's a developing story. Hopefully, when we return to this story, maybe on Friday, we will hear that the 14-year-old and the security guard have recovered safely. Horrible, horrible news. We send our prayers and best wishes to that 14-year-old student and the security guard. Don't know what else to say, but I just felt that was important to share with our audience tonight as it happened earlier today. So let's go to the live chat before we go into our stories for the evening. Let's see here. Art Medina says, the Chicago fire must have inspired Billy Joel somehow. I was thinking that as we did our show last Friday night with Kit Cabela talking about the Great Chicago Fire. Oh, God, Ed Heller, yes, you missed Pegleg. Pegleg Sullivan joined us, and he was here for a brief moment, but you'll be able to see this when it's rebroadcast after the actual live stream, or you can rewind in the YouTube window right now. So, Art Medina, regarding our last story, if it happened outside, then it must have been some wild shooting outside the store, and the student and security guard were random victims and maybe not the targets. You know, I'm not sure about that, Art, because it did happen in front of the school. Wait, let me go back to the story here. You know, if the shooting happened as classes were letting out, I don't know how close it was to a store that two people would be so easily hit. I mean, I would think that someone would have to aim. I don't know that those were wild shots. Nobody knows what's going on yet, but let's see here. Oh, yeah, Pegleg sounds a lot like Heller. That's why I think that Heller's got to do a DNA. What do they do? Those DNA research studies for family ancestry DNA, and see if there might be a Sullivan in his past. All right, so going to our first story. This is interesting to me. Oh, no. Before we start the first story, before we dive into the muck that's going to drive us crazy and make us want to tear our hair out, I'm going to take us to this first. We had the city producer of the Chicago 48-Hour Film Project, Erica Malden, there she is on that page, on several weeks ago to talk about the 48-Hour Film Project. And if you watched that episode of Chicago Corner, the Chicago 48-Hour Film Project is a filmmaking competition that takes place across the city where teams race to make a short film that's from, I believe, 3 to 8 minutes in 48 hours. The competition took place on October 3rd, I believe it was. The films are completed, and if you are interested in discovering the talent here in Chicago in our film community, you can participate and watch all of the films from this year's 48-Hour Film Project, all the short films, which range, again, anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes. I think that there's about 48 to 50 films screening at the virtual screening that begins tomorrow night. I've got the page up here right now. It's called Eventive, and the 48-Hour Film Project. All the films from the competition weekend will be premiering tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. There will be a live awards show focusing on the best of Chicago after the judges get in all of their ballots after rating all the films and making sure all the films followed the qualifications. The live screening and the audience awards will be taking place October 28th. And we will have information forthcoming on those live awards. But in the meantime, I've got it linked down in the show description. Please take a look at the 48-Hour Film Project. Discover our emerging filmmakers in Chicago. You will be entertained. You will be amazed. You will be amused. And I think you will be very, very appreciative of the fine work that our filmmaking teams from across Chicago have contributed to this year's 48-Hour Film Project competition. Erica is a friend of the show. She's a good friend of mine. She's a colleague. I know that she's worked very, very hard this year with the challenges of COVID as far as what it takes to put this competition together, as well as screen it safely. So I hope that you will all take a look at the 48-Hour Film Project. Now we will go to our first story, which is about property tax inequity. This is why a lot of us are paying more in property taxes, because 27,288 Cook County homeowners pay nothing. Now, what's interesting to me about this story is I reported several weeks back, maybe it was last month, on an essay that Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi had put out that blamed a lot of the high property taxes we're not facing on the digital economy. The digital economy meaning when everybody's ordering their stuff from Amazon or Grubhub and they're not going to brick and mortar stores, there's no tax revenue collected from brick and mortar establishments. And as we know, Amazon doesn't pay taxes. So the costs in a community get passed on to escalating property taxes, because some of the tax base in our communities has disappeared because businesses are going out of business and they're not generating the same revenues, especially during the pandemic, that they normally would being open, catering to walk-in customers and a regular traffic of customers. So this comes to us from the Sun-Times, which sheds some interesting light, although I think Cook County Assessor Kagi's theory was sound in some ways. There's another side to the story of why property taxes are higher in regards to where they're not collecting them from. This comes from the watchdogs at the Sun-Times. Kagi is giving tax breaks to veterans on pricey homes, even though they don't qualify. Now, this is kind of a complicated story because property tax breaks are given to veterans, and I think justly so, with the sacrifices and service that our veterans provide us. I think that they do deserve breaks wherever they can get after coming back from combat. However, there are veterans who are married to spouses who earn a lot of money, live in the same property, and apparently because there's a disabled veteran in these marriage relationships, these properties don't pay taxes. And we're not talking about your average middle or lower class property owner. We're talking about people like Senator Tammy Duckworth. We recognize and appreciate her service. Senator Duckworth is married and lives in a home here in Illinois, and she and her spouse own, I believe, a house elsewhere. But they're not paying taxes on it. Let me get into the article. This comes from the Sun-Times, Lauren Fitzpatrick. Some get big tax breaks despite being ineligible. The Cook County Assessor says he's following the policy on the disabled veterans property tax exemption his predecessor set, and that was Joe Barrios, who was running roughshod through the tax assessor's office. Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi has been giving property tax breaks to some disabled veterans whose homes are too expensive to qualify them. One of them is a vet who got a 5-figure property tax break this year and just sold his Winnetka home for $4.5 million. Other veterans receiving similar tax breaks live in homes the assessor values at more than $1 million. A state law the Illinois legislature passed 6 years ago offers property tax breaks to disabled veterans who qualify. It wipes out the tax bills on their homes entirely if the Federal Department of Veteran Affairs certifies they are at least 70% disabled. The law puts a limit on how expensive a home can be to qualify for the break. It has to be an equalized assessed value of less than $250,000, which translates this year in Cook County to a market value of about $775,000. The county assessor determines the market value and the assessed value, and the state applies what's called a multiplier to equalize assessments from one county to another statewide. But in dozens of instances every year, Cook County has ignored the limit under former assessor Joe Barrios and now under Kagi, a fellow Democrat who challenged and defeated him, promising tax reform, doling out these tax breaks to disabled vets living in homes too expensive to qualify under the Illinois law. As a result, those vets have gotten tax breaks they didn't qualify for, deeply discounting or erasing their property taxes by as much as $28,000 this year. That leaves other property owners to collectively make up the difference to fund school districts and other government taxing bodies. The number of ineligible homes getting those tax breaks has shot up under Kagi, according to a Sun-Times analysis of property tax bills since 2015. Since Kagi took office December 3rd, 2018, he's given 126 tax breaks to disabled veterans whose homes value exceed the limits spelled out in state law, shifting $1.7 million in taxes onto other property owners in Cook County. Barrios gave 38 tax breaks to disabled vets whose homes weren't eligible under the law, shifting $517,071 in taxes, the Sun-Times analysis found. For example, Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi gave the disabled veterans property tax break to the owner of this 12,000 square foot home, even though the value of his office put on the house was too high to qualify. That reduced the owner's property taxes this year by $17,533, cutting his bill to $49,889. He sold the six-bedroom house over the summer for $4.5 million. In Winnetka, Kagi gave the disabled veterans property tax break to the owner. Oh, I just reread that. The caption from the photo repeats itself. The homeowner, an Air Force veteran who manages investments for wealthy individuals, sold the six-bedroom house 4 months ago for $4.5 million. Using an abbreviation for the term equalized assessed value, Kagi's website says the tax break is available for disabled veterans whose homes have a total EAV of less than $250,000 for the primary residence. His office assessed the Winnetka home at $301,352 this year, which under the formula used for the tax calculations, the Illinois Department of Revenue more than tripled to come up with an equalized assessed value of $971,378. This math is making my head spin. Assessors in Chicago's Collier County say they would have disqualified the Winnetka property and any other home valued at more than $750,000 from getting the disabled vets exemption. Helen Krengel, DuPage County Supervisor of Assessments, says that's because she follows the rules set out by the State Revenue Department, which provides a standard application for the tax break. It's on their application as well, Krengel says. On the reverse side of it, it pretty clearly states that the EAV must be less than $250,000. Assessors in Will, McHenry, Kane, and Lake counties say they also disqualify applicants for the disabled vets exemption whose homes exceed that value, as set out in the legislation passed by the Illinois General Assembly. Then Governor Rauner, a Republican, signed the tax break into law, and his Revenue Department issued guidelines in 2016 for county assessors to determine who qualifies. The Revenue Department, now operating under Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker, says in a written statement, the county assessment offices should be following the laws as they are written. State Representative Michael Zalewski, Democrat of Riverside, who chairs the Illinois House Revenue Committee, says the disabled veterans tax break should be uniformly applied in all counties. There should be one standard. I don't think State Representative Michael Zalewski realizes, though, this is Crook County. And Crook County's motto should be rules for thee, not for me. Kagi's office says it's continuing policies established by Barry. Yeah, he says this. He doesn't have to continue the policies, though. He makes the rules. So this bullshit of Kagi passing the buck along to Barrios is just that. It's bullshit. He can follow the law as every other county in the state is following. But Kagi's office says it's continuing policies established by Barrios to cut property taxes for all homeowners who have a disability rating from the VA of at least 30%, regardless of the home's value, but applies the tax break only for the portion of the home's value up to $250,000 of equalized assessed value, Kagi spokesman Scott Smith says. Of the 49 homeowners, did you just bite me? Was that a little love bite? Or you don't like the story? Of the 49 homeowners who got the disabled veterans exemption this year on homes whose equalized assessed value topped $250,000, 34 received the same break the previous year. It was automatically rolled over under a state law that was passed because of the COVID pandemic. Now, there's previous Cook County Assessor Joe Barrios. To rescind this property tax relief from disabled veterans in the midst of a pandemic without prior notice to property owners would have been burdensome and likely generated legal challenges, as some have relied upon the assessor's longstanding application of the statute, Smith says. Okay, so I call bullshit on this also, because the assessed value is, what was it? Let me go back in the article. Like, what was it, over 200 and it's less than $250,000 is the ceiling for where the tax break should be applied, and they're giving it to people who've got multi-million-dollar homes. He says Kagi also didn't want to change the policy during the pandemic. Well, I doubt that the owners of these homes are suffering that much, but what do I know? Smith's, while the rest of us are paying inflated property taxes for far lesser valued properties. Smith says Kagi would like Illinois lawmakers to clarify the law regarding whether he should stop cutting taxes for disabled veterans whose home exceed the $250,000 figure. And he says the $1.7 million in taxes that other Cook County property owners are covering as a result doesn't add up much to their bills. The additional tax burden to non-veterans due to this ambiguous language amounts to pennies on the average tax bill, Smith says. The Revenue Department's guidance from 2016 appears straightforward on the matter, saying by statute, the EAV of the primary residence must be less than $250,000 to qualify for the disabled veterans exemption. It can't be any clearer than that. A financial manager by profession, Kagi campaigned ahead of his... Now, here's the burn for everybody, right? Because I was a supporter of Fritz Kagi because Barrios seemed so corrupt. We thought this candidate who championed progressive values was going to come in and reform things. A financial manager by profession, Kagi campaigned ahead of his 2018 victory on promises of reform, writing in a candidate questionnaire, "My top priorities are to make our assessment system ethical, transparent, and fair. First of all, we want to run a model that would be more accurate and less regressive." Seeking re-election, Kagi said in September that he's proud of our work transforming the old broken property tax system into one based on fairness, transparency, and ethics. In June, responding to a Sun-Times investigation, Kagi acknowledged that his office had made numerous errors in calculating a different tax break. The senior freeze property tax exemption for homeowners over 65, whose income is under $65,000. At first, he blamed the county's decades-old mainframe computer for miscalculating breaks. He later chalked up the discrepancies to policy decisions made by his predecessors. See, that really doesn't hold weight for me also, or either. Because I wonder if he would acknowledge any of these problems if the Sun-Times hadn't done a watchdog investigation to expose all of this. How about that? Among the errors, senior freezes had been granted in some cases not to individuals, but to businesses which aren't eligible. His office also had frozen some property assessments based on the value of buildings that had been torn down and replaced with new construction. Responding to other county officials who questioned the validity of property assessments ahead of preparing the tax bills that were due October 1st, Kagi told them in July that we have ensured that properties with any exemptions, not just the senior freeze, are receiving the correct exemption on the second installment tax bill. Among the homes that got disabled veteran tax breaks from Kagi this year, despite being valued higher than the law allows them to qualify. How about this? The owner of a 44th floor Gold Coast condo that he bought for $1.8 million in 1999 has received the disabled veterans tax break for 6 years under Barrios and Kagi, despite not being eligible for it because his condo's EAV ranged from $445,754 to the current figure of $636,205. This year, the tax break saved him $17,278, a 40% discount on his total tax bill of $43,968. All right, so $17,000 is a substantial amount, and when you realize that this break has been granted to, I don't know if the article says how many veterans this has been granted to that are above the bracket. It's a substantial amount of money that the county's not collecting that is passed on to the rest of us, who, might I add, are struggling. An Oak Park homeowner who in 2018 bought his 5-bedroom house out of foreclosure for $657,000 has gotten a break for 2 years. This year, the disabled veterans exemption saved him $28,313, leaving him with a tax bill of $1,531 on his home, which has an EAV of $273,522. A couple living in a downtown high-rise unit on the Chicago River that they bought for $1.3 million in 2002 have been getting the disabled veterans exemption for 3 years despite never qualifying. So here's another thing I think that it's interesting that they should factor into this. Look, as I said at the top of this segment, I have no beef. I mean, I have nothing but respect for our disabled veterans, and yeah, they should get breaks. But for $1 million plus properties when they are married to spouses who are also earning money in these properties that they co-own and share, something stinks with the calculations and how they allow people to qualify for this tax break. I would say that a single disabled veteran should rightly qualify for this break, but when you've got a married household and you've got properties that exceed the limits, something stinks. The Sun-Times reported last weekend that, okay, here's the number, 8,542 homeowners in Cook County qualified for a tax break this year under the disabled veterans exemption. So that's 8,542 homeowners that probably on the average are saving $17,335 to $28,313. You multiply those factors for the 8,000 plus homeowners qualifying for this exemption, and you understand why everybody else's property taxes have increased, including 6,083 homeowners whose tax bills were reduced to zero. Among the homeowners exempt from paying any property tax as a result of the disabled veterans exemption are U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth and former Chicago Alderman James Baker, who, because of war injuries in Iraq and Vietnam, have both been classified as at least 70% disabled by the VA. They and others will continue to pay no property taxes as long as the VA certifies their disabilities and the assessor values their homes under the state's laws limits, without factoring in the fact that they're married to able-bodied spouses and they own properties that are far beyond the limits that this break is supposed to serve. Former State Representative Jack Franks, who drafted the bill to erase property taxes for disabled veterans, says he never intended for the law to give tax breaks to people who owned homes worth more than $250,000, regardless of the equalized assessed value. Franks, who left the legislature in 2016 to serve as chairman of the McHenry County Board and lost a re-election bid last November, says he didn't realize his legislation opened the program to those with high-priced homes. Ready for this quote? "I'm an idiot. It's all my fault," Frank says. "People who can afford a $600,000 house don't need a tax break. There are so many loopholes in this. I never intended for people who are living in $600,000 homes to avoid paying property taxes. I don't think it's fair because everyone else is paying for it." So, I'm going to go to the live chat now and hear what the rest of you think, as this is an interactive episode tonight, celebrating our 1,000 subscribers. Let's see here. Oh, God, I've got a lot of comments in here. Backtracking really quickly before we cover the comments on this story regarding the Chicago 48-hour film project. The elements and requirements for this year's 48-hour film project are on the website. So you can go there. You can go to those screenings linked below and find out more what allowed the films to qualify. So, E. Heller, thanks for joining tonight, because rich people aren't paying enough. Oh, my goodness. You know what? E. Heller has just entered the broadcast backstage. But let me get to a couple. Actually, I'm going to bring E. Heller on, and we'll pop up some of your comments in a live chat. Ed, thank you for joining us. I know this is a sore spot for you.
I am not E. Heller.
I thought it was E. Heller.
Name, sir.
Peg-leg.
My name, sir, is Peg
Jesus.
Leg, and I am here with my chocolate cow, Bessie.
Do you have any comments? We're trying to do a serious story here, and Peg Leg Sullivan shows up.
Well, I was listening to your story about property taxes, and it had occurred to me in all 150 years, I have never gotten a tax break for property. I suppose Bessie, I could probably get a Bessie exemption, but I'm not really sure because, I mean, I have a leg made of Peg.
How did you lose that leg? Was it in a war? Maybe you do qualify. And you just didn't know.
I did. I lost it in one of them first or second. I think it was the first war, whichever war that was.
Must have been the Civil War because it was before 1871.
We had somebody said, "Hey, we're getting a bunch of people together and we're doing a war thing, and you're in." And I
doing
said,
a war thing.
Okay.
So, Love Tagore has a great comment here. Yeah, so you just hook up with a veteran, and you don't pay taxes. How about that? It's like people from overseas coming here for a green card. You just hook up with someone to get your green card.
Yeah, well, I guess I technically am a veteran, and Bessie has not yet paid a dime in taxes, so it's worked out pretty good for her.
No matter what, the only time large corporations and religions will ever pay taxes is when they're poor, can't afford to pay them anymore, and there will always be poor people. I would also say when the pitchforks and the torches and the guillotines come out, Art, that might be the only time they'll realize they've got to pay taxes because they're parasites on the host, which is the citizens of this country. What's disgusting about religious belief is that, yes, the poor will give it all because that's humble. It's the essence of Jesus, martyrs, Buddhas, etc. Good point. But what now is being taught...
What's that, Bessie?
But what now is being taught in religious conservative homes is that there's nothing wrong with being rich. No joke. That's why... that could explain why so many believe in Trump. Love Tagore, you bring up a very, very good point. Rich people, being rich is worshipped in this country. And I find with extremely hyper-religious people, they feel that being blessed with riches means that God is blessing them. Therefore, there's a connection between being rich and their religion or what they believe in. And I'm not going to knock religion here. I'm going to go on the record and state I'm agnostic. I was raised Greek Orthodox Christian when I was a young boy. And I think it was very, very valuable to give me a moral compass. But I think as I got older, I just realized I kind of let go of all the literal interpretations of religion, and I feel I'm spiritual. I don't think I'm an atheist, but I do think that I have a much more agnostic view of faith, given that a lot of faiths kind of aspire to the same thing. But especially in extreme evangelical Christianity, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, but it seems that, being rich is worshipped. And it blew me away when so many religious Christian people supported Trump because he's such an antithesis to what I was raised to understand Christianity is about. Humility, service, treating other people fairly, equitably. I mean, Trump is like everything that's not. So it's just interesting when you see how religious beliefs and the thought that God has blessed you because you're rich and you have to get rich to reach some kind of blessing from God. It's a weird whole other conversation to go into. Oh, and Love Tagore adds, so at the end of the day, you just end up worshiping money. Yep. Hey, Gene. Everyone, good evening or morning. Well, it's evening over here. Welcome to the show. Oreo wants to know when he's getting his tax break. Cat labor has value. That's true. And Oreo does participate a lot in the show. Back to commenting on the story, though. Let's see here. Art Medina. I'm thinking of buying property around my neighborhood, but factoring in the property taxes on any property is sometimes what kills the hopes of buying any property, whether it's high or low. I saw a really interesting story, Breaking Points this afternoon with Crystal Ball and Sagar, where they were talking about how millennials now that can't afford to buy their own homes are finding friends to buy a home with together so that they can get into a property. It's like roommates purchasing a property. I don't know how that would work if roommates ended up deciding they want to move when they're invested in a mortgage, but the cost of property, let alone the property taxes, is what is completely eliminating or preventing anybody from achieving the American dream as we know it. Tax reform in this instance means more tax breaks for the wealthy, as usual, by our elected officials. Thank you, Gene. If you allow an elderly person or a veteran to live in a property you own, then you should get a tax break. Hey, how about that? A vet dating app would be popular in Chicago. Yeah, that would get popular real fast. I'm glad to know I understand you. Art, the rich never have to try and survive. Being poor and not wealthy is always about survival. Oh my goodness. Pegleg has departed and E. Heller has joined us. Hey, Ed.
Yeah, I've been trying to log in since like 7 o'clock, and the system kept saying somebody else was already in there. And then I go onto the live stream, and that Pegleg jerk is in there.
That asshole Pegleg just had to to intervene on what was supposedly a serious story, but that's okay. The entertainment value was definitely worthwhile, and I love having Pegleg on the show. But let's get back to the seriousness of this, though, because you are a property owner, and we've talked about this also. I'm a property owner. I have a 2-flat. I have a tenant. It's a family property. You have a condo. What are some of your thoughts on this?
I mean, the last time we had a conversation about this, I was talking about how they had just reassessed like everyone's property tax values, and it was like a 30% jump or something like that since the previous year. And I'm like, well, if you're reassessing and there's that much of a difference from where it was, and if that tells us that either you were way off or you've gone way overboard with your adjustment in 1 year, or
you pay more in property taxes because 27,288 Cook County homeowners pay nothing.
Exactly. And that's a problem. I mean, the simplest terms, basically rich people need to start paying more in property taxes is what it is.
Absolutely.
And of course they're utterly resistant to that. And they have,
because they've got us to shoulder. They've got the rest of us fools and schmucks who don't have lobbyists influencing our elected officials to burden the taxes. That's what it always comes down to.
Yeah, I don't know what else to add to it. All I know is my property taxes went way up.
Yeah, ours did too.
And I'm waiting for the hammer to fall on that, because some people are paying a mortgage and it's rolled into escrow, which means that their mortgage servicer pays their property taxes. So when the new ones roll in, the mortgage servicer will send you a notice typically that your entire monthly payment is going to be going up. And then you have to pay attention and make sure that if you have to make an adjustment for that, that you're not, accidentally underpaying or overpaying, depending on how your taxes get adjusted. But for more people, they're going to end up having to pay more per month. And what do you do when you have limited budget? You got to find more. You got to find a way to squeeze more blood from the stone that you don't have.
I don't know if JR, if you live in Chicago, but we're way ahead of you. We've been calling it Cook County for decades. How about this? Art, my parents' home is now worth $300,000, but higher values in your property isn't a guarantee you can ever sell that amount of money if you sell. The value only determines amount of taxes you pay. Yeah, that's the scam. Hey, KRTD Media, thanks for popping in. Well, I want to move on to our next story because we reported on this also. There's an update regarding the Park District scandal. I'm going to add this to our stream here. It looks like the Cook County, we've had several resignations now in the Park District. I have to move my water here because Oreo's trying to get into it. First, so this all happened prior to and over the weekend. First, the Park District supervisor accused of inappropriate relationship with an underage lifeguard resigned. The supervisor was suspended and then resigned. It's the most explosive development yet in the ongoing investigation of sexual harassment and abuse among lifeguards at Chicago's pools and beaches. Now, this was updated October 6th. And following that, over the weekend, Mayor Lori Lightfoot demanded or suggested that Park District, what is he called? Park District Supervisor, Chairman, whatever his title is, Mike Kelly, CEO. She recommended he resign, and he did. Looks like Mike Kelly needs a life ring. What would you say, Ed?
I don't know if our lawyers can authorize us to put a life ring near him, though. We'll have to check with the parliamentarian on that one.
Yeah, I don't think he's deserving of a life ring after. This is what shocks me. First of all, the supervisor that resigned accused the inappropriate. Well, let me get into the story, because there was a woman supervisor involved in this. I'm like, okay, so we got a woman working at the Park District allowing the sexual abuse to go on. I mean, this is the Me Too era. We're not supposed to allow for this. And apparently a female supervisor was looking the other way or helping cover things up. But let me get into the story. This comes from Illinois News Live, and then we can talk about it. It's a little bit lengthy, but this came out 3 years ago, reported by Mark McNee, McNee. Anyway, Chicago Park District CEO Mike Kelly resigns after Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot, they spelled it Lori Lightfoot. Wow. Says he should be fired for
typo.
That's crazy. Fired for handling sexual abuse scandals. Mike Kelly, CEO and general manager of a Chicago Park District, resigned on Saturday immediately after Mayor Lori Lightfoot asked the Park District Commission on Saturday to dismiss him immediately for the treatment of a lifeguard involved sexual abuse scandal on the city's beaches and the pools. Kelly has managed the Park District since then Mayor Rahm Emanuel appointed him general manager and chief executive officer in 2011. He's been in the Park District since 2003 and was previously chief operating officer, first vice president, intergovernmental and community officer. What do we do in Chicago, Ed, when we're in government? We fail upward. Or in civic service, right?
In most government.
They keep identifying Lightfoot as Rightfoot in this article. Anyway, I got to catch myself as I see the typos. Wait a minute. Is there a right foot in this article? No. Okay.
We only got one mayor, though.
Yeah. So the article says Lightfoot said this is Lightfoot. Okay. Lightfoot said in a statement early Saturday. Wait, I guess there is a Rightfoot because now they're identifying Rightfoot as a he. I'm just going to read the article.
What the?
Yeah, Rightfoot. Maybe it's a joke because our mayor dresses so androgynously. I don't know.
No.
Rightfoot said in a statement early Saturday that he had requested the Park District Commission to dismiss Kelly at a private meeting on Friday. Kelly handled allegations of general sexual harassment and abuse of women and girls who worked as lifeguards on the district's beaches and pools. At that meeting, I asked the board to dismiss Mike Kelly, general manager and chief executive officer of the Park District, for good reason, Rightfoot said. The culture of sexual abuse, harassment, and coercion prevailing within the district's aquarium lifeguard program under his leadership is the urgency or accountability of the supervisor when new facts are revealed. Coupled with lack, it is unacceptable. Despite new training, new procedures, and previous claims of new personnel, the failure of current Park District management responses to new claims of harm to children persists and is simply one. I can't stand it for a long time, so my estimate is that it's time to take on new leadership soon. I don't think that this article that we're quoting from had an editor, and I popped into it from another story that was updated at Block Club Chicago. But Recently, several Chicago City Council members have requested Kelly to resign or be dismissed. On Friday, 18 members of the Progressive Caucus demanded his resignation. 6 members of the caucus had previously requested his expulsion in individual statements. Kelly said in August that 42 employees had been disciplined, not let go, disciplined, as a result of an investigation by Little's office since the investigation into harassment between lifeguards began in March last year. In the meantime, 2 other employees have retired and are banned from future employment in the district. 6 have resigned and are placed on the district's banned list. 9 have been suspended and 5 have been suspended. This article's like all over the place. Sorry, guys. I read the beginning of it when I was prepping the show. I didn't go through the whole thing because I'd read about it on Block Club, but there's so many typos and editorial problems with this report from Illinois News Live. The good news is Mike Kelly has resigned, and hopefully we will see some reform in the Park District. Fingers crossed, not depending on it, but at least this whole sexual abuse scandal has been disgusting. And that they were covering things up, shifting people around to prevent the investigation was even more odious. Ed, your thoughts?
It's just crazy. The amount of corruption that we have, and just how everybody is covering everything up, and how we've got people in positions of power that instead of trying to solve the issue, or just trying to get around it, or get people to move past it and forget about it or whatever. It's crazy. Can I share an image with you that I got off of Twitter here?
Certainly.
I got this thing. This came from. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. This is.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, you shared that in Slack today. Yeah. Explain it to the audience. Let me put it full screen. Let me take us off and see. Okay. Start again, because when I took us off, it also muted our mics.
Oh, that's okay. I wasn't really talking yet.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is what paper is this? This is the. Let me get rid of this. Let me hide. Turn off this thing here.
Please forgive all of the production hiccups, people. I don't have an engineer. It's just me.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, I'm controlling this window right now. But here we've got this is from the Sun-Times, and this is the story where they talk about him resigning. Okay.
Yeah, I love this.
Right on the next page, there's a letter of support from IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9 and Local 134, saying IBEW Local 9 and 134 wholeheartedly support Chicago Park District General Superintendent and CEO Michael P. Kelly for his tireless efforts on behalf of the city of Chicago taxpayers, and especially the children of Chicago who have benefited from all of the programs under his watch. Now, okay. Now, these 2 people here, they got a lot of explaining to do. And
I would say so.
And I'm just going to close that window. But basically, it's kind of a sign of what goes on around the nation with certain union organizations, where the rank and file people all have their heads on straight, and somehow they let some people making decisions at the top who do silly, weird, misguided things, like
they don't care. They're
buy a full page ad.
Yeah. Or I wonder if there are political connections there, and there's some water being carried to try to salvage what's left of his already useless reputation in overseeing this scandal and not acting. So from the Sun-Times, so we're going to get some better editorial commentary here that's at least more not all over the place. So just so people understand, the allegations first, this is why Kelly had to resign. The allegations first came to the district's attention on August 26th. The matter was forwarded to the Park District's Inspector General for review and investigation, something Kelly had failed to do when the first allegations of sexual abuse and harassment of lifeguards was brought to his attention earlier this year. The matter did not rise to the level of Office of Inspector General involvement based on details provided by the initial third-party complainant. A second investigation by the Department of Human Resources was hampered after the alleged victim refuted being subjected to any misconduct. Then, however, on September 10th, the Park District received a written statement from a third-party complainant verifying claims that included screenshots of text messages. Those text messages allegedly included reports of inappropriate communications and choking done in a sexual manner, Lemon said. The email did not give further explanation of the text messages. All right, so it took getting to the third complainant for this to suddenly blow up. Wouldn't you just assume from the first complainant, where there's smoke, there's fire, to cover your bases and do a full investigation? No, they just ignored it until it finally escalated into the third instance with the text messages and the photographs to prove what's constantly been ignored over there by management. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Anyway, as I said before, let's just be happy that I hate saying this guy's name, Mike Kelly. The star of my Christmas movie Solstice was named Michael Kelly, spelled differently. Every time I come to this story, it's like I hate having to report on it because there are good Mike Kellys in the world, just not this one. Anyway, moving on to our next story. Let me.
And I'm sure that there's a good Pegleg Sullivan out there somewhere.
There are definitely people with that surname. We cannot discriminate against them. All right, so going on to our next story. Get out of my cup, you little punk. He's drinking my water. There's a water for you in the kitchen. Go. Come on, we're doing a show.
It's like, but yours is 30% more delicious.
That's true, because I've got my Chicago corner mug. Wait, there it is. With his tail in the way. So here, I caught this story tonight, and I love it because I think this is what we all aspire to doing with all of these horrible stories reported all the time of crime on our streets, taking back our streets. So, in this story reported by the Sun-Times, this evening actually, by the Sun-Times Wire, armed robbers fired shots as man and woman fight them off in Westtown. We got some real-life superheroes here, or aspiring superheroes. The robbers tried to take the woman's jacket and demanded her phone, but she punched one of them and they fled. How about that? I mean, I don't know how wise that was, but I absolutely admire her grit and moxie. Two people fought back against armed robbers who fired shots as they fled but didn't hit anyone Monday night in Westtown. This is actually a serious situation because apparently they didn't have muggers that were just waving a gun that wasn't loaded. You would think some armed robbers might not have ammunition. You can't count on that. These two fought back, didn't know that, and the robbers shot their guns off. The man and woman in their 30s were confronted by two armed robbers around 10 p.m. in the 2100th block of West Ray Street, Chicago police said. They pointed a gun at the man and demanded his money and phone, but the man said he didn't have either, police said. As they tried to take the woman's jacket and demanded her phone, she punched one of them. The robbers ran back to the Honda CR-V and fired into the air, police said. No one was injured. Thank heavens no one was injured. What I loved about this story was that the woman punched the guy before they fled. I don't necessarily know that I would advise that to everybody, not knowing whether or not you've got maniacs who are willing to pull the trigger and shoot you for a coat or a wallet. But I wanted to give some credit where credit was due.
And, and the truth is a lot of people out there who, just walking around on the street, they don't have money. Where most of us are broke.
Or cash.
Right now.
Well, cash. And if they got the credit cards, they're not going to give them their PIN numbers to go take what little they probably have from the ATM.
So, people, I'm with you, Jerry. I don't know if I would recommend, punching them in the face as a first response. But everyone's their own person in that regard. But you have to realize that, more people are desperate now than ever before, not only desperate to steal your stuff, but desperate to hold on to what they have.
Yeah.
So, it should be discouraging for people who are thinking of going down that path. If you're going out and you're thinking, oh, it's going to be an easy score, I'll hold up somebody and I'll take their stuff. A lot of people are desperate to hang on to what they have. Do you really want to risk them fighting back on you? What if they happen to get, if you're pulling a weapon on them, what if they happen to get their hands on it and turn it on you? I'm not trying to give, advice to would-be criminals. I'm trying to tell people, don't be a criminal. Try not to go down that path. You don't know where it's headed. Probably nowhere good. There's better options out there. There should be, and there's people that will want to help you. We just have to find each other.
Arturo brings up in the live chat, Jerry, how would you feel if Chicago citizens started fighting back like Bronson in Death Wish? If one vigilante can start it, then a whole army can rise up instantly. Nice in Hollywood, dangerous in practice. I will say I'm not a fan of firearms at all. That said, I have considered taking a training class to learn about firearms, to perhaps conceal carry for safety purposes. In the meantime, what I would recommend, Art, in response to your suggestion, they make pepper spray guns, not just the little squeezy things. They actually make pepper spray canisters that fit in what essentially looks like a snub-nosed revolver. I have one. And I would recommend everybody go to don't go to Amazon. Go online and find a pepper spray gun. Because if you've got it and you're in a tight situation and you pull that thing up and spray your assailant in the eyes, at least it gives you some time to run or move away from someone who might be of real danger to you, and it's non-lethal. That's my solution. Maybe the solution, Art, is for all citizens to fight back by getting pepper spray guns to spray assailants in the eyes to get away faster and teach them a lesson not to go out and try to take what's not theirs.
Actual non-lethal defense items.
Yeah, and other non-lethal. I think the mace pepper spray gun is a great non-lethal defense item because, first of all, when you hold it up, it looks like a weapon, so they don't know if you've got a weapon or not, but it's sure going to make them realize they can't fuck around with you, right? Spray them in the eyes, get out of there.
Of course, I could borrow one of your Batman suits too.
I'll have to see if I can.
And then lend it to my friend who might consider vigilante actions, but I am not that friend.
You know what, Ed? I've said on many occasions to my friends, if I had two good legs, there might be a Batman in this city, but unfortunately, wishes don't always come true. So, Love Tagore in the live chat has a quick question. What's with Peg Leg? I don't get it. I don't think she saw our Great Chicago Fire show, but Peg Leg Sullivan has been accused of being responsible for the Great Chicago Fire. We did a segment last week with Kit, and so, out of nowhere, Peg Leg Sullivan, who it's been rumored may have been responsible for the Great Chicago Fire by accidentally tilting over a lantern in the farm, joined the show. So since then, Peg Leg has somehow hacked into our broadcast.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up. I'm gonna have to change my password or something because I don't know how the heck he got in there. But I was having trouble getting in, and it turned out that he was on the show earlier today.
I don't think it's going to be the last we hear from him, no matter how much
pushing that chocolate cow stuff. I don't know what that's about.
Anyway, moving on. Let's see. I know plenty of people who carry an armed concealed weapons license. Yeah, this is what it's changed to. Hey, KRTD Media, thank you. We're having a good time here. Oh, also, they do make tasers. They do make tasers that citizens can purchase that are legal. That might also be a way to protect yourself. I remember, what was it, Batman Returns? When Selena Kyle in the beginning of the movie was dealing with the Red Triangle clown gang that Batman was protecting the citizens of Gotham from. She had one of those hold up taser guns that you put out to shock somebody. So that might also be an alternative to protecting yourselves. All right, so here's a good point. All right, Gene, you're right. What if a cop thinks you have a gun or the bad guy thinks you have a gun? I think it should be pepper spray bunny rabbits. Well, if you can guide us to where we can find pepper spray bunny rabbits, Gene, I'm sure we will take that under advisement. And
Bunny
lastly,
rabbit, he was coming right at us.
congrats on reaching 1K subs. Will you be enabling super chat? Would love to make some donations. I'll have to explore that. I guess we could. That would be cool. I know that we still need to get our viewing time up per videos, like 700 hours or something. I got to talk with Daniel or Kid about that. Daniel mentioned on the show tonight, here's what you can do to help us, okay? To reach that next threshold of YouTube algorithm enhancement that I don't quite understand. We have a couple playlists on Chicago Corner. A lot of playlists on Chicago Corner. When you go to sleep at night, go to your laptop, go to one of our playlists, click play, turn the volume down. You don't have to watch, but so long as the playlist is cycling, YouTube is registering that as people watching our segments, and that will elevate our hours viewed. Am I correct on that, Ed? I think that's what they were describing tonight.
Something like that. It's
Yeah.
basically they just want you guys to go on the channel and watch all the videos.
Yeah.
I know that every once in a while, after these shows air on Tuesday and Friday, they get clipped up into other pieces, and you
Right.
feel free to come back and watch each individual clip. That helps, and it can't hurt to hit the thumbs up on those as well. And take any of those clips and pass them on to your friends. Let them know this is the kind of stuff you can catch on Chicago Corner. And occasionally some weird dude will hack the channel and start pushing chocolate cows. Next thing you know, he's going to start saying that there's cows that make almond milk. Almond cows? Come on.
Stranger things have been discovered. All right, so moving on to our next, we actually have, I was about to call them both feel-good stories. One has the potential to be a really feel-good story with our audience's involvement. I came across this today on Block Club Chicago. A couple wants to turn an abandoned Englewood church into an art center, but they're running out of money and time. This comes to us from Atavia Reed. Plamen Yordanov and Yuliana Fogis bought the Love, Faith, and Praise Church of God in Christ 3 years ago to launch their own art foundation, but they've struggled to get funding for much-needed renovations. This is that space. Plamen Yordanov stands in the center of an abandoned church surrounded by wooden debris and broken pews. This dilapidated church at 6950 South Stewart Avenue is home to the Plamen Art Foundation, an arts and culture hub Yordanov and his wife, Iuliana Fogis, dream of bringing to Englewood. The couple wants to transform the 114-year-old building into a place for live shows, exhibitions, and community art classes. Look at that space. I love historical buildings and historical architecture. But the couple is facing a 6-figure price tag just to make the first critical renovations and move forward with their plan. As money runs low and winter approaches without proper help, the couple said their Englewood dream might end before it fully begins. We would be happy to have our vision come alive, Fogis said. Otherwise, it will be a loss for Englewood. It's our dream going down, but I think a place like this here would bring a lot to the community. Agreed. When Fogis saw the Englewood Church in 2018, she fell in love with it, she said. The Love, Faith, and Praise Church of God in Christ was badly damaged in a fire in 2012. The building sat vacant for years. Windows were shattered, the roof had gaping holes, and old broken pews were left behind, Yordanov said. But something about the place was magical. I saw the interior, the windows, the balcony, and the stage, Fogis said. The space felt right. We felt like the church was meant for this. The couple inherited a roughly $108,000 mortgage and a nearly $50,000 water bill when they secured the rights to the church, they said. Despite the hefty cost, the artistic duo stayed hopeful, Yordanov said. We saw the potential, said Yordanov, a native of Bulgaria whose work has been exhibited globally. We saw a space for exhibitions and art classes. We thought the stage could be kept for concerts and lectures. I thought I could do a lot of what's needed, like restoring the stained windows, and during the process, we could get help and volunteers. 3 years later, the couple has hit a wall, Yordanov said. Attempts to apply for grants and fellowships have been unsuccessful, Fogis said. For the past few years, they've applied for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, a city award that finances projects on the south, southwest, and west sides, Fogis said. All applications were denied. Isn't it interesting, Ed? Churches don't have to pay taxes. when you want to restore an old church property into an art center for the community, you can't even raise the goddamn money. With nothing left to invest, the couple said I know one's not related to the other, but I think you understand my point. With nothing left to invest, the couple said they're not sure what happens next. We put everything into what we have here, including our time, Yordanov said. We exhausted our resources. We cannot put more money into this. We're trying to make lemonade from lemons. With winter approaching, Yordanov is worried about what snow might do to the interior of the church, he said. In previous years, he's hung up tarps himself to block out the snow and rain, but after a few frightening slips, he's decided not to risk it this year, he said. The duo estimates they will need $500,000 to renovate the entire church, but $150,000 would be enough to secure the roof, Yordanov said. Once we complete the roof, then we can work more on the rest of the church. We won't be under so much pressure, and we can put our labor. I work many hours, but this can't be done with one person. For now, Yordanov and Foga said they will keep trying to find financial support. They plan to apply for another city grant this year. If that proves another dead end, they might be out of options. What keeps a sliver of their dream alive, Yordanov said, is how the foundation could contribute to a community that's built up its own vibrant art and cultural scene, hosting its first musical festival this month and regularly organizing public arts projects to instill pride in the neighborhood. The vision isn't a restaurant or housing, it's art. Imagine all the programs we could bring to this place. It's hard to give that up. Neighbors can support the Playman Art Foundation by donating to its GoFundMe. Here, linked in the chat, or linked in the show description, everybody. Look, I know times are tough. They've only raised $2,040 out of the $150,000 goal that they're trying to reach. I know it's a long shot, but geez, even $10 among so many viewers could go a long way. I haven't contributed yet because I just pulled up the story this evening, and I plan to contribute to this. It's for a good cause. I don't know these people. I just found this story, and as my friends would tell all of you, Jerry Vasilatos is pretty much the patron saint of lost causes, which is why this story touched me. And I hope maybe if everybody can donate, I don't know, $10 to it, share this video. I'm going to subclip this into a segment also that can be easily shared by itself for next week's rotation. Maybe everybody pitching in can make some kind of a difference. The GoFundMe for their campaign is linked below. Like I said, I don't know these people, but I really admire what they're trying to do. It's for a good cause. If you can afford to put something in, I hope you might.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. Just, you know,
it was my lost cause to try to help promote this week.
No, I'm also supportive of lost causes, as I probably am one. But we
all are. It's like the mission statement of what we're doing here is to.
I wish them luck. I wish us all luck. I know a lot of us are struggling out here right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the very least, see if we can help them get a tarp over that thing before the winter hits.
At the very least, to buy some time.
I mean, we've gotten some rainstorms in the past several months. I'm hoping that they're getting through that. I can't imagine how bad it would be if they weren't able to keep the rain out.
Yeah, so I'm a big old architecture, old buildings have a soft spot for me. Again, maybe it's because there's the romanticism of like another era. Personally, I've been very, very invested in being a big fan of old movie palaces. Some have been restored. Some have been lost forever. The Uptown Theater right now was granted landmark status, and there was an initiative a few years back with city funding as well as private funding to restore the Uptown Theater. This was like at the end of Emmanuel's tenure. But the whole thing fell apart before the pandemic. And I just read a friend of mine shared a story with me tonight. The Ramova Theater down in Bridgeport, they had a ribbon cutting ceremony tonight. They're going to be able to restore the Ramova Theater, which is a smaller theater. But it's an old theater with a lot of history. Personally, when I was young and stupid, I, along with many friends, used to, let's say, engage in urban archaeology, driving down to the city from the suburbs to these old abandoned buildings like the Granada Theater, which is now gone, and climb the fire escapes to the roof. I'm outside the statute of limitations also confessing this. And dropping in through skylights with our flashlights to explore the beautiful old architecture in these theaters, which is now lost. So when I saw this story about the old church that these people want to renovate and turn into an art center, I mean, it's the same thing. You're taking something old, fixing it up to serve people in a good way, and also honor the legacy of that structure, the history of that structure, that building. So that's kind of what it's all about for me. So our last story, Love Tagore says, check out Brothers of Decay. I'll check that out. So our last story of the night is definitely feel good. And I will admit I'm a little bit selfish sharing this story because Guthrie's Tavern is an institution over in Lakeview.
It is.
You've been there, right?
Yes.
Beautiful little bar, established in 1986. When I was in Columbia College, I used to spend many a night there with my college buddies, downing Miller Genuine Drafts, talking about movies, talking about our families, our dating lives, our personal lives. It's an incredible establishment, and they have board games in there. It's just a nice, cozy neighborhood tavern that was pretty much an institution there in Lakeview until the pandemic hit. And sadly, the owners had to close Guthrie's. Well, they've reopened under new ownership. Thank heavens. Because when I heard they closed down, I was like, not only because of my personal memories there, but Guthrie's also inspired a scene in my Christmas movie. And we shot it in Guthrie's. The owners of Guthrie's at the time, back in 1993, let us shoot a scene in the tavern there that was inspired by an episode from real life that made its way into my movie Solstice. So I was so thrilled tonight to see that Guthrie's is reopening because of not only as it being an institution and a really beloved place in the community, but because, I've got a personal connection to it. So getting into the article as reported by Jake Wittich, beloved corner bar Guthrie's Tavern is back in business. Guthrie's at 1300 West Addison Street has been closed since July of 2020 when the bar's former owners announced they were shutting down for good after the city tightened coronavirus restrictions last summer. But after passing its final city inspection earlier Friday, the bar finally reopened around 4 p.m. under its new owner, Matt Baldino, who bought Guthrie's Tavern earlier this year. He and brother and co-owner Mark Baldino commemorated the occasion by hanging a crisp new sign mimicking the color and font style of the one that hung over the bar for more than 3 decades. The bar's regular hours going forward are still being determined. It feels great. We've got some old employees that have come back, and they've told me it feels like the same old Guthrie's, Matt Baldino told Block Club. And I can tell you from the pictures that they're sharing, it looks like the old Guthrie's. It doesn't really look like anything has changed other than the ownership, and I really salute these guys for stepping up to save what I know a lot of people in that neighborhood were going to miss. Baldino, who owns nearby Commonwealth Tavern at 2000 West Roscoe Street in Roscoe Village, has been renovating the bar for nearly 6 months, upgrading the bathrooms, electrical and ventilation systems, and plumbing. But he said the goal was to stay true to the original Guthrie's Tavern. The interior bar hasn't changed or moved, and most of the iconic ceiling tiles were maintained while Baldino installed the new lighting system. We took down all the tiles and labeled them where they were supposed to be, and some were in better shape than others, Baldino said. So we put about 2/3 back up, and we're probably going to leave 15 or 20 of them open in the hopes that customers will make new tiles and create new memories.
That's a good idea.
I love that. Bring it into the present. Guthrie's is also keeping its focus on board games and looking to build on the motif by hosting gaming leagues and trivia nights, Baldino previously told Block Club. We did everything we needed to do and kept it as close as we could to the original Guthrie's Tavern, Baldino said. I'm more nervous about this than any of my other openings because I feel a real responsibility to do this in a way that the previous owner would have liked. Calvin Fredrickson, who's been coming to Guthrie's for nearly 9 years, said Baldino nailed it in his efforts to maintain the bar's comfy atmosphere. Guthrie's is a Lakeview craft beer institution, Fredrickson said. I couldn't believe they were reopening, and I couldn't be happier to be here right now. Guthrie's is known for attracting a mixed bag of people, from couples going on their first dates to sports fans or neighbors looking for a quick drink. Fredrickson said he's looking forward to seeing people in one of his favorite bars again. It's one of those places where everyone feels welcome, he said. Roommates John Ray and Matt Kearney, who live across the street from Guthrie's Tavern, looked out their window every day to see if the beloved corner bar had reopened. This is making me tear up. They were the first 2 customers when Guthrie's opened its doors Friday. We looked out the window and saw doormen and that the bar's lights were on, so we came back and are thrilled to be back, Ray said. Kearney said it felt surreal to see one of his favorite bars survive amid the pandemic, which has been particularly hard on the industry due to temporary closures and capacity limits. During the whole pandemic, it's been really sad to see the neighborhood bars go down, so to see them coming back is great, Kearney said. Especially this one. Guthrie's is awesome. The bar's reopening even attracted customers who have never visited before, including Mike Caballero and his 2 roommates. I can already tell this bar is a gem for the community, Caballero said. So, a toast to the reopening of Guthrie's. There we go. I couldn't be happier to see that they're back. Guthrie's is one of my 2 favorite. I have a few favorite watering holes in Chicago. The other is the Lincoln Tap Room, which is an amazing old bar that's got all kinds of vintage woodwork inside. It's just got this great. It looks like a dive bar, but it's not. It's a really cool the ambiance and the atmosphere of the place. Have you ever been to the Lincoln Tap Room?
Lincoln Tap. Where's that one?
That's on
Lincoln somewhere, right?
Wellington and Lincoln near St. Alphonsus Church.
I'm sure I have been.
Probably
Being in the city or near the city for decades now, I've probably been in almost every bar that's still there. But yeah, or been dragged there or led there after a ball game. Guthrie's was one of those where basically we would walk, a few blocks west. Yeah, it's west on Addison, and then you're at Guthrie's. So yep. It's and like you said, it's a typical neighborhood bar. It's not super fancy inside, but it's classic. It is classic Chicago. You saw the photos. You got the basic wraparound bar. You've got the wooden tables on the sides, and you got the games at there. That's the games. The board games were definitely a hallmark of Guthrie's.
Yeah,
not every place had those, but it was typical kind of neighborhood bar. Great neighborhood feel. You really felt welcome in the place like that.
Probably, I want to estimate about 10 minutes walking distance from the Music Box Theater. I used to live across the street from the Music Box Theater when I was in college with my roommate Sam, which is why we always used to have our other friends meet us at Guthrie's. I'm just grateful that that it's reopening and it's restored. Let's jump into the live chat here. Hey, Art, that's not a bad idea. Send your movie to the new owners. Maybe you'll get them to showcase it in their restaurant. Well, it needs a big screen. They should definitely make a Solstice movie tile. I think I'm going to have to send my movie in a tile to them and see if that's something to consider. No, I didn't. That's not true, Art. I never got into a bare knuckle bar fight with a British boxer at the Lincoln Tap. You're making that up, but I appreciate you trying to elevate me to some unusual level. So a couple people have asked in the live chats in this show and previously about my Christmas movie. And I'm just going to, nothing is final yet. Okay. But I am going to share, because I'm excited about this, what we hope to do. This is the official announcement because it has been cleared by Daniel and Kit and everybody else. We would like to, in partnership with the Greater Chicago Food Coalition and Toys for Tots, sponsor a community event mid-December where we ask our viewers and everybody who is going to come out, if you can bring some non-perishable food items or a toy to our event at a place which is yet to be discovered yet, you will get free admission to see Solstice in a theatrical venue. Now, I've got the Greater Food Coalition on board. I've got to call in a Toys for Tots. I don't think Toys for Tots is going to say, no, you can't do this, because I've actually collected Toys for Tots the last 2 times I've screened the film in 2018 and 2019. We collected toys at our screenings to be able to deliver to Toys for Tots. So we want to do a bigger community outreach event under the sponsorship of Hardlands Media. So hopefully, if we can find a venue by which all of the wonderful people who will come bring food and toys for the underprivileged in our community can then watch my movie for free. It's sitting on a shelf. Not a lot being done with it, but as it's a holiday movie, and it's kind of a Christmas card to Chicago, being that it was shot here in a lot of Lakeview neighborhoods, I thought, what better use to put it to than see if I can organize a free screening for everybody if they will bring food and toys to help the community. So it's not official yet, in the planning stage. I'm just hoping, having just spilled the beans here, we can make it happen. But I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope we can promote this and get viewers out to contribute to two really worthy causes and enjoy some holiday cheer with a short 48-minute movie on a big screen somewhere. So that's a developing story, more details to come, but we are working on it. So I'll keep everybody posted on that. And you know what? No, it's never a bad time to donate to the Chicago Food Bank. Very, very true. I would encourage people to donate anyway, but if you want to see a free movie with the event that we end up putting together, we can give back to you for giving to them. So on a very special Christmas episode of Chicago Corner. We're not there yet, but anyway. So that's our show tonight. I think I ended on a nice note. We don't like leaving our shows with anguish or outrage at some of the stories we report, and I think we had a pretty good balance tonight. What do you think?
I think you did okay today, Jerry. 1,000 subscribers. That worked out pretty well.
Thanks to you. I appreciate all of the postings you were making in the Hardlands media shows live chat, getting people who didn't know about us to come over here. I know it made a big difference.
Yeah, it was nice. We when HLM went live today, you only had 2 left to go, and I was really happy about that because it literally took 5 minutes, and then you were over the top. So that was pretty cool, and I thought that was a
Hey, what's going on here? How did I get back in here?
What the hell?
My name is Pegleg Sullivan,
Jesus God.
and I would like to make sure that everybody knows that chocolate cows exist. How else would you get chocolate milk? This is just the truth.
We've been hacked again. We've been hacked.
Shut up,
God.
Bessie.
He's still in the barn too. Pegleg, you don't have.
It's not really a barn. It's more of a laboratory. Bessie, actually, I know how to speak cow now. It's been 150 years. It took a long time, but I figured it out. So, she's been mooing at me something about almond milk, and I said, "That's crazy. You're not gonna be able to make an almond cow to make almond milk. That's ridiculous."
How now, brown cow?
Brown cows do not actually make chocolate milk, but there are chocolate cows. There is a distinction.
I'm just gonna have to take your word for it. I don't know if E. Heller is working feverishly on the other end to hack back into the show. We might be closing.
I don't know who that is.
All right, I think that we're going to.
Does he have a peg leg too?
No, he doesn't. Thankfully, he doesn't. Not that I know of.
Well, that's
so I think
right.
I guess we're going to be closing tonight's show with our pirate hacker, Pegleg Sullivan, thanking everybody who subscribed to the channel, getting us to 1,000 subscribers. In no easy way, other than letting people know we're here over at Hardlands and over here. So anyway, anything else you want to add, Pegleg, before we sign off for tonight?
I just wanted to add that I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and to come and tune back into Chicago Corner Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, where I will explain the intricacies of developing a chocolate milk cow.
I'm going to have to talk with E. Heller before then to beef up our security. Remember, everyone, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Stay safe. Watch out for each other, and we will see you Friday. Peace out.